Hello, everybody. Thank you so much again for joining me. Welcome to lockdown lesson 4 of my Awesome Animal series. I hope you are excited for today because I certainly am. And today we are going to be talking about poo. One of my favorite subjects, actually, I have to say. We're going to be talking about poo in our cats and our dogs. So as always, if your parents and guardians say it's okay, please comment and say hello, and I will say hello back to any comments that I see. And if you have got any friends who you think might enjoy this, please tag them or share the post. That'd be awesome. And if there's anybody in your life that doesn't have Facebook, hi Charlotte, but does have YouTube or Instagram TV, then it will be uploaded there after this, sometime this afternoon. Right, you ready? Let's all about poo. So, hang on 1 second. I just need to share my screen with you guys. You'd think I'd be good at this by now. Right. Right, we are on it. So let's talk about poo. We're just covering poo in our cats and dogs today, not our other animals, because there's a lot to talk about poo, and we could be here all day. So we're just going to talk about our carnivorous pets, so our cats and our dogs. Hi, Lexi. You've had some poo problems. Well, you might learn about things today. The reason I look over here is because when the screen is up, I actually can't see your comments. So I've got my phone to one side, and I'm checking those as I go along. So here is the main question. Oh, Freya and Carefully. Jacob, how exciting. Hi, Ellis and Faye as well. Thanks for joining me. Oh, hi, Reese. You're back. That's amazing. I'm so pleased you're here. Right. What is poo? Like, what actually is it? So here we go. So poo contains a lot of fiber, and fiber is really, really important to have healthy poo and healthy guts. Some protein and a little bit of fat. So some leftovers from our diets, but actually not huge amounts, because of course we digest most of our food and take all the nutrient from it. Bacteria, 23 million in every teaspoon of poo are bacteria, and bacteria are little bugs that are vital for healthy guts. When they live inside our guts and our pets' guts, then that's absolutely fine, and actually they're really, really helpful for healthy digestion and a healthy life. But this is why if you handle poo, and after we've been to the toilet and our pets have been to the toilet, it's really important to wash our hands. Some waste products from the body, so bits and bobs that our body doesn't need, is busy getting rid of, they're in the poo. I mean, after all, that's what poo is, waste products. And water, quite a lot of poo is actually water. And we're going to talk about how we know if there's too much or too little water in our poo as we go along. So that's what poo actually is. So here's my first question of the day. Are you ready? Why is poo brown? Interesting question. It's not something that we maybe think about very much. So is the answer because our pets eat brown food? Because a lot of them who are eating kibble, the kibbles are brown. Is it because of that? Or is it from the breakdown of red blood cells in the body? So have a little think, type your answers in the comments if you would like to, and we'll get on with, and we'll find out the answer to that in a bit. Okay, so who else have we got? Ruby, hi Ruby, thank you so much. It's great that some of you guys come back every time. I really, really like that. Caitlin and Eleanor, nice to see you guys. Caris, Carla wants to be a vet. Well, that's brilliant. You're about to learn an awful lot. We've got some really coming up are some of the ways that vets describe poo, and some good vetty words to learn. So if you ever do go to the vet, you can talk to your vet, like vet to vet almost, about poo. And Ivy, hello Ivy. Isabel and Anna, hi guys. Right, so the consistency of the poo, so how hard it is or how soft it is, can tell you an awful lot about their health. So it is actually quite important that you pay attention. So it might be your mums and dads that are scooping the poop on a regular basis or cleaning out the litter trays, but tell them, keep an eye on the poo, it's important. So this is, medical professionals, so vets and also doctors as well, we chart the poo so you can score it 1 to 7. And there is, as you have seen, a chart coming up with actual pictures of poo, but I thought what we would do is try and keep the actual pictures of poo to a minimum, just in case some of you are squeamish. And actually, I really like this one. You will never look at Maltesers the same again. So it goes from type 1, which are really small, hard little balls, which can indicate that there's some constipation, so that they're too hard. like a Malteser, all the way to type 7, which is super watery but still chocolate brown, like hot chocolate. I mean, if you really want to do some homework after today, you can take that little list to your parents and say, well, I need you to buy all this chocolate for me this weekend because I need to learn about poo and see how well that goes down. So, but there's the other fecal charts. This is actually what we would be looking at in real life. So if you're a bit squeamish, look away now. And you can see we go from really, really hard balls of poo to absolute watery puddles of poo. You know, if you tried picking that up on a walk, you wouldn't have much luck at all. But what we're aiming for is number 3. Okay, so that is the perfect poo. We're going to talk about the perfect poo in a minute. Right, so consistency. So small, hard balls of poo are not good. If your dog does a poo that you can kick around the garden, then that's actually not a really good thing. That does indicate that that's not, the guts aren't terribly healthy, or your pet might actually be constipated. What constipation means is it means the poo is so hard and so tough they actually can't squeeze it out, or squeezing it out takes loads and loads of work and it might hurt them. So we don't want our pets to be constipated, and that can occur if they aren't eating enough fiber. Remember before I said that a lot of poo is fiber, and one of the really important things about fiber is it keeps our poo and our guts healthy. So if your pet doesn't have enough fiber in their diet, they maybe will produce these little tiny hard balls of poo that actually they're easy to pick up and you might feel quite smug about it, but actually it's not necessarily a good thing. They're arthritic. Some of our older pets, you know, imagine how your pet poos, okay? They've got to crouch down, haven't they, and do like a proper squat to poo. And a lot of our older pets, they have arthritis in their hips, and arthritis is quite a painful condition, and that means they don't want to squat, so they don't poo as much as they should. They maybe don't push as much as they should, and if poo stays in the body too long, it gets very, very dry, and then it's even harder to push out, and it hurts more because they're arthritic, and around it goes. Or they aren't drinking enough water. Again, fiber is in poo, but so is water. So if the poo is too dry, if your pet isn't drinking enough, that's quite common in our older cats. If you watched my cat one last week, you would know that sometimes it can be hard to get cats to drink, especially our elderly cats, and they can get constipated because they don't drink enough. So if your pet, this is why it's so important to pay attention, if your pet is producing poo that you could play football with, then that is not a good thing. And there are some little tiny balls of poo for you to look at and admire. Right, so consistency, but sloppy, watery poo isn't good either. That's too watery. We don't want it to be too watery, and that's called diarrhea. So that's what that is called. You've probably heard that term before. And that generally indicates that the intestines, where the food is digested, it goes into your stomach, through your intestines and out the back end. It generally indicates that the intestines are inflamed or upset for some sort of reason. Sometimes it's entirely self-inflicted. If you've got a dog, you know all the disgusting things that they will eat when they're on walks. And actually, I always find it amazing that they don't have diarrhea more often. Their guts are pretty tough, but often it is self-inflicted. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's something else. And it's caused because there's too much water. So constipation, there's not enough. And diarrhea, it's too much. It's all to do with the amount of water that's in the poo. Right, let's see who else is here. Oh, Rosa Lily, you got the question right. Well done. We'll have the answer in a minute. Hi, Kay, again. Ruby, you got the question right. Jessica and Caris, thanks for joining us. Ellie, you got the answer right as well. You guys are good at this. I did forget to squawk, Rose Lily. Yes, I did. Hi, Romilly and Aoife as well. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I hope you are enjoying this and you aren't too freaked out by it. So here's some examples of diarrhea. You can see that you can go from quite sloppy and sticky and sludgy to like actual water. You know, sometimes our dogs just lift up their tail and it's like a hose pipe coming out. Not very nice. And I would stay well clear if I were you. Leave the diarrhea to the professionals. But what about the perfect poo? So this is the perfect poo. Poor old Toffee Crisp. I wonder if they get used. No, they get used as an example. So it holds its shape, but it's soft when you poke it, but not with your bare hands. Remember all those bacteria. So you must always either wear gloves or use a poo bag. But you want it to look like a poo, but be squidgy. Firm but soft, segmented. So that means it's kind of goes in and out like that. What that is that's actually a mold of your intestines inside. So when you look at your poo, you're kind of looking at what your intestines look like, which I think is cool, but maybe not very many people do. And it's pick-upable. So you want poo, especially if you've got a dog that you're taking on a walk and you need to pick up their poo, it's very important. So it's got to be pick-upable, which I think is a great word. And there is a picture of the perfect poo. That actually, a little dog did that in my surgery, and the owner, and before the owner could clear it up, I said, no, I need to take a picture. I have a lot of pictures of poo on my phone. But then, that's how vets are. So when we are describing poo to owners, and often I'll say to owners, well, what does this poo look like? Tell me about it. Does it look like Mr. Whippy ice cream? Again, I'm not sure if Mr. Whippy knows we use his ice cream a lot, but we often will use that. Does it look like thick custard? Does it like watery gravy? Is it like a hose pipe coming out? What color is it? Is it like milk chocolate or dark chocolate or caramel chocolate? We use a lot of chocolates, which probably tells you a lot about actually what vets are eating when we're not seeing our patients. But yeah, so if you can come in and say, my dog's got diarrhea and it looks like thick custard, your vet's going to be very impressed. So here is the answer to the question that a lot of you, in fact, I don't think I saw a wrong answer. So you guys are amazing already. Why is poo brown? It is from the breakdown of the red blood cells. So all those red blood cells, so we have red blood cells running in our bloodstream. That's when if you cut yourself, the color is red. That's from the red blood cells. They carry oxygen around the body and help you stay healthy. But eventually they wear out. And once they're worn out, your body processes them, sends them out, sends the waste products from those out into the poo, and that turns your poo brown. So there we go. We've all learned something today. Or maybe we didn't, because you guys all seem to know already. Okay, another question coming up. How long does it take for poo to decompose? If you left it behind on a walk with your dog, would it take 9 days to disappear, or would it take 9 weeks to disappear? So have a little think about that, and we'll have the answer later. So the other thing, as well as consistency, when we talk about poo, we also talk about the color. And poo can be all kinds of colors. A whole rainbow of poo is available. But what we are after is that lovely chocolate brown of the perfect poo. But if it isn't chocolate brown, there might be a problem. And actually the color that it is can tell us and give us clues about what the problem could be. So all the colors of the rainbow, or the rain poo, maybe. Okay, yellow. So you can get yellow poo, and it's usually very soft. And what that means is that something's moving through the guts very quickly, so it's not got chance to go brown. And it generally means the body wants to get rid of something. So diarrhea is actually a body's defense mechanism, because there's something inside the guts that the body's gone, no, I don't like that. It wants to get rid of it. And the easiest way to get rid of it is to shoot it out the bottom end. Sometimes you'll also be sick, or your dogs will be sick as well. And that's part of the evacuation process. But a lot of the time, especially if it's past the stomach and the intestines are like, no, I don't like this, the guts start to move and go really, really quickly, and it all shoots out the back end. And that's another reason why it's so watery, because the water is reabsorbed as it goes in and down along the track, along the intestines. One thing that happens is the water gets sucked back up again by the body. But if it's shooting out the back end really quick, hasn't got a chance to do that. That's why diarrhea is watery, because it's not been sucked up again. So there's a lovely example of some yellow poo. If your dog produces yellow poo, we call that small intestinal diarrhea. But actually, if you just say yellow, we know what you mean. Black. So black poo is really bad. And what that means is the poo contains digested blood. If you remember my talk about fleas the other day, and we talked about flea dirt and how when flea dirt is dry, it looks black, because all fleas are eating and digesting is blood. And when blood is dry and digested, it goes black. This is exactly the same thing. So if your pet maybe has got some ulcers in the stomach that are bleeding, or some sore intestines and they're digesting lots of blood, it will come out black. So poo should never be black. If the poo is black, particularly if it's black over a few days, or your pet gets poorly, then we want to know about that. And if you're ever worried about your pet's poo, now you've listen to me talk about it for half an hour. Here's the 2 things you want to do. First of all, take a picture. I love it when people bring me pictures of poo, which makes me a bit weird, I guess, yes, but no. It's really, really helpful for your vet to actually see a picture of what's happening. Or, bring it in a bag or a pot. It's amazing what I've had poo delivered to me in the practice before now. And I say to them, would you like your piece of Tupperware back? And do you know what? No one has ever said yes. They always are quite happy to donate their Tupperware along with their poo. So you must never ignore black poo. So that's an example of black poo. Sometimes it's sloppy. Sometimes it can be quite hard as well. Or grey. So this isn't very common, but if your dog produces grey or white sloppy poo, that can indicate there's actually a problem with the digestion of the organs, so the liver or the pancreas in particular. That's something that if you've got a German Shepherd, that's quite a common, well, not quite a common problem, but if we see that problem, it's often in the German Shepherd breeds, and it's often really slimy. It's really like uber disgusting. I know poo is disgusting, but like the grey slimy stuff is particularly disgusting. So there we go. Look at that. That's where the Caramac comes in, I think, you know, if you like a Caramac chocolate bar. So who else have we got? Okay, you got the answer right. Excellent, Lucy. Yes, you and I agree on this. We love a bit of looking at poo. Claudia says, unless they've had charcoal. So yeah, if you've given your dog charcoal for some reason, they will produce black poo, but really we're thinking about black poo that's kind of unexpected. Oh, Caitlin, you got the answer right. Siobhan, you got the answer right. Ellie, you got the answer right. Oh, you guys are so clever. I'm going to have to think of some more difficult questions. Yeah, so Lexi's cat had grey poo with pancreatitis, and that is exactly it. If the pancreas isn't working very properly, the poo can be grey. Right, but the most common colour that you will see along with poo is red, because we quite commonly see blood in poo, and it can happen for lots of different reasons, and it can be a bit scary when it appears, but we might not need to worry about it too much. So if your dog is producing just small streaks or little drops of blood, or your cat in their poo, you need to pay attention to that. You maybe need to speak to your vet and just see if that is a problem. But if they're fairly well in themselves, it's something to act on, but it's not something to panic about. Okay, so like this, that's a lovely splat of diarrhea. That also happened in my consulting room, if you notice carefully. A lot of these pictures are from poo on the inside, not on the outside. And if we do a close-up, excuse me, you can see, can you see that sort of weird red slimy blob on that piece of poo? So that's blood. So here's the thing, when you have diarrhea happens because the guts are inflamed and upset about something, and tissue, when it's inflamed, that means like it's swollen and sore. It also bleeds very easily. Okay, so if you've got diarrhea and you have a little bit of blood in with your diarrhea, it kind of tells you what you already know. The guts are inflamed and upset. It doesn't tell you why, but that's the two things go together. So a little bit of blood with some diarrhea isn't actually that uncommon. And sloppy poo and blood go together, it just means the guts are inflamed. But if your dog is producing large amounts of blood, and you are not going to miss that. If they squat in the garden and walk away and there's a dinner plate of a blob of blood there, then there is a problem, and you definitely need to speak to your vet about that. So this is how we talk about poo. So these are the words that you need to know if you ever take your pet to the vets and they've got a problem with their poo. Yes, I am a bit weird, Kay, you're absolutely right. But, you know, I could talk about poo all day. These were really impressive. So the posh word for black poo is Melina, which often sounds like quite a pretty girl's name. So if you know anyone called Melina, don't tell her this. But it's actually the medical term for like black sticky poo, or poo with blood in it. Now, say this with me. This is a hard one. Hematochezia. Hematochezia. Poo with blood in it. So you can say, oh, my dog passed hematochezia this morning to your vets, and they will be floored. So impressed. Dietary indiscretion. This is one of my favourite phrases. So dietary indiscretion is the polite way of saying, my dog ate rubbish. He wasn't very discreet about his diet. He got into the rubbish bin and ate something he shouldn't. He picked up some rubbish on a walk and ate it, that kind of thing. So dietary indiscretion. And this is one of my favourite words ever. This is, again, say it with me, borborygmi. Borborygmi. That is the posh word for a gurgly tummy. So when you're lying down after a big meal and your tummy starts to go, that's borborygmi. And often we see that with pets, particularly with diarrhea, because when we've got diarrhea, we've often got a lot of gas and everything's kind of rushing through, and they get these rumbly, gurgly tummies. And that's borborygmi, one of my favourite words. Right, so here's the answer. Are you ready? How long does it take poo to decompose? It takes 9 weeks at least. So can you imagine? So if you go for a walk with your dog, or if people go for walks with their dogs and don't pick up after their dogs, I think a lot of people think that a bit of rain, a bit of wind, and the poo will quite quickly disappear. But it's not like horse poo and cow poo, which does quite quickly decompose. It stays around for ages, and in some cases it can still be there a year later. So you have to pick up after your pets. So yeah, I'm as shocked as that guy. And this is why it is so important to scoop up your poo. So remember we talked about those bacteria earlier, 23 million per teaspoon of poo. And there are 66 million people in the UK. So 3 teaspoons of poo contains as many bacteria as there are people in the country that we live in. So imagine how many bacteria there are in a whole poo. And then your dog poos like a couple of times a day and several times a week. Just imagine that. And bacteria can quite easily make people poorly, and they pollute the environment. So that's one of the reasons why it's so important to always pick poo up with a poo bag or gloves on, and always to wash your hands afterwards anyway. But there are some bacteria, and like I say, the bacteria in poo mostly are normal and natural, and at the bottom end they're perfectly fine. But if we get them into our mouths, then they can make us really sick. And some dogs do shed some bacteria which doesn't make them poorly but can really make people poorly. So it's really, really important that we scoop our poop. And also, if we leave it there and then it rains, and it's near like a watercourse or a stream or something where our water comes from, it can pollute the environment as well. Worms. So we chatted a bit the other day about tapeworms, another one of my favorite subjects. But if you're not worming your dog or your cat on a regular basis, every 3 months or every month, if they're big hunters, or you guys, especially if you guys are quite young and you have quite a close relationship with your pets, so you like to hug them and they like to lick you and that kind of thing, then monthly worming can be a really good idea. Your pet may well have worms, and they pick them up from the environment all the time, but they're microscopic, so you won't see them. So you can produce your pet can produce quite normal poo, and there still could be thousands and thousands of worm eggs in them. So you definitely, and if you leave that behind, then those worm eggs will last for up to a year, possibly even longer in the soil. So even if the poo is gone, washed away or something like that, the worm eggs will remain, and that's how worm eggs infect other pets, and sometimes people as well. So it's really, really important to regularly worm your pets, but also to scoop their poop, and even if the poo is normal. So they don't have to have diarrhea to have worms. So, and you can't see them, so we just have to assume they're there. And also, it's disgusting. Why on earth wouldn't you scoop your poop? Leaving it behind is absolutely vile, and we've all been there, haven't we, where we've been for a walk and accidentally stepped in some dog poo that someone has left behind. So it really is icky. So, Rosalie's got the same favourite gross subjects as me. Great. I really feel like we'd get on, Rosalie. And why do animals eat their poo if it has bacteria in it? Well, that is a very good question. There's a lot of reasons why animals eat their poo. But remember, I said that they can shed bacteria that doesn't hurt them, but it will hurt us. So sometimes pets will get sick if they eat their own poo or other people's poo. Some dogs really enjoy snacking on cat poo. I just can't even imagine, but they do. Yeah, it's grim, and then they come and lick your face. So yeah, sometimes eating poo will make them poorly and sometimes it won't. But anyway, here is the final fact. Here is the fact that I would like to leave you guys with today about poo. Every year, the average dog produces 125 kilos of poo. And that's the same weight as the average 10-year-old child times 3. So 3 of you guys who are 10, that's how much poo your dog produces in a year, or an average dog produces in a year. And imagine how much poo there would be around if nobody picked it up. So even though we do see a lot of poo on our walks, I know I do when I go for a walk, and I think the majority of pet owners and dog owners are actually responsible, because can you imagine there'd just be nothing but poo? There would just be poo everywhere. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed that. And you've learned a lot about poo. So we know about the consistency of poo. You can go and buy some chocolate to practice looking at different chocolates to figure out the poo. And then, of course, you must eat the chocolate, but you mustn't eat poo. I know you guys won't do that, but your dogs might, but they don't listen to me. And we learned about the colours as well, and why sometimes poo is different colours, and what that could mean. Right, so let me just stop sharing my screen a minute, and I will come back to you. Here I am. Hello, everybody. Right, our dogs eat our cat poo. It's a race to the litter tray. Yeah, it is really grim. It is really grim. And sometimes it is a bit of a behavioural thing as well. And the dogs are like, oh, I must get there first. It does become a bit of a game. So if your dogs are getting into the cat's litter tray, what I would try to do is, if you know roughly when the cat's poo or when the cats pop into the tray and you think, right, you might do a poo, use that as an opportunity to maybe give your dog a treat or play with them or give them a new toy that they haven't maybe played with before, distract them so you can get in there and get that poo before them. But if it accidentally becomes a game and a race, then yeah, some dogs will eat their own poo. Oh, another posh word, coprophagia. That's the special word for eating poo. And sometimes they'll literally poo it out and whip around and eat it as quickly as possible because they want to get it before you do. So that's like a training thing to train them to get distracted. Something else is more fun than eating their poo. Oh, Ellis, you're very welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Freya knows what the cat's poos mean. My dog loves cat. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Let's not talk about animals eating people poo. Yeah, some dogs just really truffle hunt. Like it's like a delicacy. It's like they're going out and their nose goes down and off they go hunting for the cat poo in the in the hedgerows. And if you've got cats that don't use litter trays and poo outside, which a lot of cats do, and that's perfectly fine, it can be a good idea sometimes to go around the garden and scoop those up so the dogs can't get them. Or because if cat worms can infect dogs, you want to keep your cat really well wormed so they're not going to infect any dogs that eat their poo. But this is it. It's amazing what dogs will eat that doesn't upset their tummies. And they do have like tummies that are a bit tougher than ours, to be fair. They can cope with more. Some stuff will make them sick and a lot of things will make them poorly. But if you ate cat poo, I don't think you would be as well as your dog. I don't think you would do it every day or think it was an amazing thing. So thanks, Kayleen. How can I stop cats pooing on our vegetable patch in the garden? That's not easy. So the key really is there's two things to do if you want to stop cats pooing in your garden. First of all, you can try and discourage them from coming in your garden. So when you see them, shoo them away. You don't have to shout at them or throw anything at them. But if you make your garden a slightly less pleasant place for the cats to be, then they'll start to avoid it and go somewhere else. But also, cats love freshly turned earth and they like to hide under leafy things to poo. So if you've got carrot tops growing, it's like the ideal place. So what some people will do is they'll actually make a special toilet for cats in their garden somewhere that the cats will love to poo, and then you can move the poo away. But yeah, it is a bit horrible when other people come and poo in your garden. Right. Oh, hi, Flissy and Edith. Oh, hi, Wendy. Nice to see you again, and Erin. Right, there we are. Half an hour on poo. All things cat and dog poo. I hope you guys enjoyed it. One thing I did want to say was this is the final Friday that we're going to be doing. When I started this, I did say that we would do 2 sessions a week, but actually it's proving a bit much. I'm still working, I'm homeschooling, and I've got other projects on as well. So from here on in, we're going to just drop to 1 session a week. It's going to be Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So I will see you here Wednesday, 3 o'clock, when we are going to be talking all about dogs and how to be an awesome dog owner, how to understand our dogs, how to love our dogs, and how to make sure our dogs have the best life ever with us as their owners. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please share it, tell all your friends. Don't forget it'll be on IGTV and YouTube as well. And I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.